Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
5:07, it's O'Connor and Company this Wednesday morning. Thanks for tuning in. So I get confused sometimes, Julie. What is a chain of command again?
I don't know. I was hoping you could tell me. That's why I tune in.
That. I feel like that's part of my job. I'm not sure. Yeah, the chief of the District of Columbia Police Department does not know what that term means. When asked yesterday, very, clearly and honestly, and not a gotcha question at all, can you all explain exactly what the chain of command is here with the new federal law enforcement officers? And she said, what does that mean?
Wow.
We'll dive into that in a bit. Also at 6:35, Cal Thomas will be here. 7:05, Byron York's been doing a deep dive on the crime statistics. Apparently, we've been lied to. 8:05, Noe Landini. Oh my gosh. He's the owner, of course, of the great Landini Brothers restaurants, which I think you haunt that place quite a bit in Old Town, I believe, don't you?
Love it. He
has a perspective as a restaurateur, as a small business, family business owner here in D.C. about crime. And then, speaking of crime and politics, 8:35, the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares, will join us. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Speaking of Jason Miyares, the breaking overnight, or late last night, the Loudoun County School Board decided that they love transgender policies more than federal money. They are They voted to defy the Department of Education.
Just not surprising, but enormous disappointment.
Not surprising at all. So I watched the, let's get back to the crime thing here. We'll get to Loudoun County and all that stuff. And as you heard, we have lots of guests to sort of continue to delve into this as this story continues to move. The White House yesterday announced great first night of action here. Lots of arrests, lots of police presence. And you would think that the residents of D.C. are happy about it, which I think they are. I've noticed a remarkable phenomenon here. Obviously, there's major crime in D.C., and it's bad, especially juvenile crime. All of the reporters and anchormen and teleprompter readers who spent so much time and energy yesterday telling you that D.C. is a safe city also might have included in that report the fact that there is now a curfew in place for anyone under 17 years old in most parts of the district because crime got so bad at the peak of summer. I don't see how those two things can square up, but I realized, I figured it out, Julie. Apparently, the only people who have either been victimized by crime or have witnessed crime or have people in their lives who have been witnesses or victims of crime are conservatives and Republicans. It's an astounding phenomenon.
My favorite is when they, yesterday all over X, there were people saying there's no crime. And then they'll cite something like, like Upper Northwest, Colorama.
Yeah.
Upper, like Lower Bethesda right before you cross over. Georgetown. Yeah. I mean, they're talking about the toniest areas of Washington, right? And yeah, not the areas where we see this crime. And actually there are very nice areas like Navy Yard, which is beautiful, but has experienced a lot of crime, mainly from these like ATV and these young groups. And that's the other thing. It's amazing how the crime is reduced once you put a curfew on, because a lot of these crimes are being committed by youth.
Yeah, but that said, it's funny, in D.C., I noted for a while when I first got here that the news really only focused on major violent crime when it happened in Georgetown or Northwest D.C. or in Tenleytown.
Capitol Hill.
Because, it's in our neighborhood, we should report on it now, which is, by the way, a fascinating observation about our media. But also, frankly, it has been getting worse in those areas. A lot of this crime, DuPont Circle is Northwest D.C. DuPont Circle is, relatively wealthy area.
But it is that, it is that seeping over. It is that seeping over into nicer areas.
And Georgetown has seen a little bit of it as well. There has been an increase in crime. I would not feel safe if my daughter were going to Georgetown University and she was walking the streets at 11 p.m. Simone Sanders is one of those observers. She worked in the Kamala Harris administration. Like most people who worked for Kamala Harris's office when she was vice president, she only worked for a short time. But she was on Morning Joe yesterday.
When you walk down the streets of Georgetown, you don't see a police officer on every corner, but you don't feel unsafe. So what is it about talking about places like Southeast D.C., right, Ward 8, if you will, that people say, well, we need more officers to make us safe? I think we have to rethink what safety means in America.
Rethink what safety means in America.
It reminds me in 2023 when there was this weird thing happening in New York City of women getting slapped. It was only women, young, beautiful women, getting slapped. And they were like, what's going on? And there was literally this sort of suggestion that, well, you just kind of have to take it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's that redefinition. Like, were you hurt? Did they just snatch your purse? Did they just take your phone? If you, maybe they
What's
just
the
need
lasting
bread.
damage? Yeah.
Right.
I do want to point out one thing, though, because I just get so frustrated with illogical arguments where, one of the big points here and the reason that they're gaslighting and trying to pretend like this is a safe city all of a sudden is because it's Donald Trump. You pointed it out yesterday that if Joe Biden had made this announcement, he'd be celebrated. They give him the key to the city. And the talking point would be, thank God, Joe Biden, this empathetic man, cares about protecting black and brown citizens who are victimized by crime. And by the way, the crime is all Donald Trump's fault. Trump caused the crime, and now Biden's here to fix it. But because Trump is doing this, they all oppose it, and they call it authoritarian. They call it totalitarian. How dare he bring in the National Guard? So let's just talk this through for a second. Everyone agrees that a governor of a state has the right to bring in the National Guard when there's a real bad crime problem, right? I mean, that's not even debatable. Kathy Hochul did it last year. You remember the National Guard down in the subways? She did the big photo op with them. Oh, the National Guards are going to be in the subways now, and that's going to make things safer. The governor of New Mexico, just a couple of months ago, had to call in the National Guard because there was a major problem in Albuquerque, and the local law enforcement were overwhelmed. So we all know this, right? By the way, those are two Democrat governors who did it. We all know that a governor can call in the National Guard. They have the right to do it. Okay, so who's the governor of Washington, D.C., Julie?
Muriel Bowser.
No, she's the mayor.
What did I say? I'm sorry.
D.C. doesn't. I'm sorry. I know. I caught you off guard. I said we shouldn't play the quiz game. I apologize, especially in the 5 o'clock hour.
It was one of your. Yeah, exactly.
D.C. has no governor.
Thank you.
It's not a state. And because of that, and because of the constitutional oversight of the federal government, oftentimes the president carries certain executive powers in the District of Columbia, including calling in the National Guard at various times. That's why he pre-authorized the National Guard for January 6th. Now, that got a little complicated because it was at the Capitol building, so the Speaker of the House and the Sergeant-at-Arms also had to have a say, as we know. But the president does exercise certain executive powers at certain times in the District of Columbia. So the only rational argument against Trump utilizing his executive powers to bring in the National Guard is that they hate Trump. That's it.
That's it.
It's the only. This happens all the time, but because Trump has done it, they're going nuts. And they're going nuts in a way that is so deceptive and frankly dangerous. Because if you tell people, oh, there's no crime problem here, it's safe, and then, God forbid people in D.C. watch MSNBC as their news source, and then they decide to, let their 14-year-old go down to the Smithsonian, and then something horrible happens. We'll talk a little bit more about how they're cooking the books and they're gaslighting you, but you're smart enough. You know better in a moment. First, though, it's 5:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Yesterday afternoon, we got the numbers on the first full day of the federal government providing law enforcement reinforcements for the Metropolitan Police Department. 23 arrests, including a murder suspect on just day one. Federal and local authorities announced that late in the day. Gun offenses, other crimes. FBI Director Kash Patel said on Twitter, on the first big push of FBI supporting the President Trump's initiative to make D.C. safe again. FBI reported 10 arrests with partners. So the FBI participated in 10 of those arrests. Yesterday, also, the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, conducted a impromptu press briefing with her chief of police, whereupon one of the reporters asked the chief of police, so how's this working? What's the chain of command? You're the chief of police, and the Metro Police Department is actually taking the lead here, but then you've got federal law enforcement. Who's in charge? What's the chain of command was the question.
I mean, we have so many military listeners.
Pretty basic.
Pretty basic stuff.
Pretty basic
term.
Military and law enforcement, they're going to hear that. Even a layman understands that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
What the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is...
Muriel Bowser to the rescue. She jumps in there. Yeah,
she literally, she nearly threw the woman out of the way.
Pamela Smith, the chief of police, who looks just fine in uniform and has a sharp, butchy haircut, was asked, what's the chain of command?
Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor.
Was that? I'm sorry. Is it Pam Bondi? Let me spell it out for you. Here's a diagram. Here's an organizational chart.
Now?
What does that mean?
Well,
What the deer in the headlights gaze, and what does that mean?
Yeah.
I think speaks volumes about how we got here.
Yeah, it honestly, and there just seems to be a pattern. You have female mayor choose. Hey, I'm a chick. I can say this, right? But what is going on with these women who run these cities? It's just astonishing when they get in front of a mic, how they reveal how incapable they are of running a city.
I'm sorry, Julie, and I'd like to apologize to our great listeners here
viewers.
for that kind of
Our
outrageous and offensive, misogynist, if I may say, tirade against Pamela Smith.
Are you worried, Larry? You're going to be looking for a new co-host?
No. Hey, listen. You do what you got to do. I just want to clear up the record and educate everybody, and apparently you as well. She has a storied history in law enforcement, including, let me just point out some of the highlights. In 2022, she was named the Chief Equity Officer.
There we go.
For the executive office of the chief of police, whereupon she led the department's efforts on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she supervised the Directorates for Employee Well-Being and Support Unit and the Equal Employment Opportunity Office. So how dare you, madam?
Are we done with the 19th Amendment yet? Are we done? Can we do something about that?
Everybody's like, oh, my God, the chief of police is a DEI hire. And the chief of police is like, well, yeah. It's right there in my resume.
Right there.
Oh, sorry, one more time, because I know we got a lot of military who listen this early in the morning. The question is, what can you describe? Do you know what the chain of command is?
What the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well,
everyone who's listening today, who's a member of the military or retired or working for a contractor now, maybe, or if you're in law enforcement, I just want you to raise this question with your chain of command today. See what happens. And if you're ever asked, hey, I'm sorry, are you unfamiliar with the chain of command?
That's what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well,
just try that. What does that mean? Especially when you're in charge.
But also, imagine this reporter. Was there? This went viral because it got on X, and people were. You literally have the chief of police, and also it's very important to note again, and we mentioned this earlier. Muriel Bowser ran to the podium when she saw what that response was, which tells you it's not like she didn't hear it. or it was said in a weird way.
Bowser heard it, and she had to go clean up on aisle 3. She
Exactly.
she was like a WNBA player fighting for a rebound under the boards. She was like elbowing the chief out of the way.
Exactly. Get out of here.
I'll get this. My ball.
And again, there won't be any follow up. You know what I mean? There won't be any okay, let's talk. Does she really not know what? Anyway.
There's more at play with this. Well, we want to talk about how the books are being cooked and who's really behind it. Everyone points to this D.C. police commander who's been suspended for supposedly putting in erroneous numbers. But that police commander, by the way, is filing a complaint for being dismissed. He claims that he was being told to do that, and he resisted.
He alerted, yeah.
And that's why they're playing retribution on him. And Will Chamberlain, a friend of the program, points out that the way they've been downgrading all of these felonies in D.C. and giving people slaps on the wrist, that's participated in making the crime stats look better. The crimes are still existing, but if you don't prosecute them properly, it looks like everything's fine. Will Chamberlain points out this was literally the script for the entire season of 1 Year on the Wire, based out of Baltimore, HBO's show. Yet somehow nobody's recognizing exactly what's going on. We're going to give you all those details coming up a little bit later. And as I mentioned, Byron York at 7:05, who's been covering all of the misreporting of crime stats. Keep it here.
Well, no surprise here. Loudoun County School Board has decided to not comply with the Department of Education's rules on pronouns and gender identity. Time to pop your popcorn. We'll have the latest. Keep it here. It's 5:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:37. Thanks for checking in here on O'Connor and Company. We got a busy slate. 6:35 Cal Thomas, 7:05 Byron York, 8:05 Noah Landini of the infamous and famous and amazingly delectable meatball-filled Landini Brothers restaurant. I do like those meatballs. Also, cigar. Have you ever been to Rex, the cigar club up?
I haven't.
Upstairs.
Not really into cigars, but
yeah,
I hear great things, and I love Landini Brothers. Love it.
Yes. 8:35, Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares. It's Larry O'Connor alongside the, sadly, tobacco-repelling Julie Gunlock. You've offended women of all ages.
It's been a banger of a day.
You've offended cigar smokers.
And I'm just getting started.
Well, why don't you turn your venomous ire toward the Loudoun County School Board for a moment.
Oh, that's easy.
Now, as you know, they discussed behind closed doors without the benefit of transparency or public comment what their response would be to the Department of Education, notifying them that they were in violation of Title IX with regard to their transgender policies. See, the federal government under President Trump, and really all the way up until Barack Obama, had a really crazy notion that Title IX, which has to do with equal opportunities and access for women and that you cannot discriminate based on sex, well, they decided that that really meant that boys who identify as girls can invade girls' sports, girls' locker rooms, girls' bathrooms, thus making girls feel unsafe and reducing the opportunities that those girls get to enjoy. That's what Title IX was really all about, Julie Gunlock, don't you know?
Yeah.
So Loudoun County jumped on board with 4 other Northern Virginia school systems. They went ahead and affirmed all of this Obama-approved and Biden-enforced gender ideology policies. Trump administration says can't do that anymore, and if you don't cease and desist, you will lose access to any federal funds you're currently getting. Last night was the final vote. Again, the debate behind closed doors, no transparencies, no public comment. The vote was 6-3 in favor of keeping the policies. The vote was 6-3 in favor of defying the Department of Education and thus forfeiting whatever federal funding they're getting.
Yeah, and likely programs that help underserved students. So this is really, really unfortunate. This is yet another reason why we need school choice in the state of Virginia. And look, for all the things that Youngkin and his administration have done to sort of look into the Loudoun County school system, what we really need is a really strong school choice system in this state, because parents are fed up, and sadly many parents, especially in Loudoun County, are trapped in that public school system. And it is clear, where we're talking about Loudoun County, where there was a sexual assault due to the bathroom policies, because this isn't just about sports, this also is about locker rooms and bathrooms. So they're going to maintain this policy of allowing boys into women's spaces, women's bathrooms, and women's locker rooms, and vice versa, where we have a case of a girl filming boys in a bathroom. So, I mean, these policies have been an absolute disaster, and a tragedy for some families and for some school kids, and yet they double down. And you know why they're doubling down, Larry? They're doubling down because Trump. That's it. That's it.
I'm confused by the Washington Post's write-up of this story, because the subheadline is Loudoun County Schools voted to maintain their gender policy, allowing transgender students to use facilities matching their identity. What does that mean? No, really. How does this policy play out? I demand to use. I demand to use this facility based on my identity. What is an administrator supposed to do? Well, excuse me, but you're a boy. I can tell you're a boy. How dare you say I'm a boy? I am not a boy. I want into the girls' locker room, and I want in right now. I just saw the cheerleader team go in there, and I want in.
And they will be allowed in.
What is the criteria? How do they base this? What is the?
There's no rules, Larry. There's none.
That's right. There really aren't any rules. And I love the subheading. Despite Education Department demands for change.
Yeah, and let's also remind people that the demand for change is going back 10 minutes ago.
Yes. Thank you. This is a brand new policy.
That we have evidence is a disaster. It's like, that's what I keep going back to. It's not as though there haven't been kids hurt by this, embarrassed by this, uncomfortable. There are mothers are getting up at school boards and saying, my child holds it till they get home.
My child will not use the facilities.
My kid, when they were in public school, they were very young, but when they were in public school, I started to hear that from my son because the bathrooms were scary.
And it's also happening at a time when boys were threatened with expulsion because they were uncomfortable with the girl. I know, listen, we do hate these policies because it puts young girls in a vulnerable place, and we've seen that play out in horrific ways. But this ain't no party for boys either.
No.
You're a 13-year-old boy, your body's changing. I vividly remember in middle school being in a locker room and recognizing almost immediately that we're all on different paces. In terms of how our bodies change. Not everybody changes on the same day in the same month. And that can be awkward. It can be, really intimidating. Then you throw a girl into the mix? Well, we've got the Attorney General of Virginia joining us coming up at 8:35, Jason Miari. So we'll ask what can be done at a state level, because these are state laws that are being violated as well. We'll ask him if he can do anything about it. And we should probably find out what Abigail Spanberger thinks about this. Abigail Spanberger, do you agree that Loudoun County should be in violation of federal law with these policies? That's a real simple question.
Yeah, watch that space. And look, you just on the Myers thing, he's already investigating Loudoun County. You mentioned the boys, for a girl walking into a boy's bathroom, and then the school went after the boys.
Well, this doesn't require much investigation. There's federal law and there's state law, and they just voted 6-3 to defy both of those laws. So, what's to investigate?
Right.
5:43.
Later today on the Derek Hunter Show, as fascism is on the rise in Washington, D.C., there's going to be remarkably less crime. The horror. We'll talk about it at 3 o'clock on WMAL.
We gave you some details yesterday about a story John Solomon and Jerry Dunleavy uncovered over at justthenews.com. This has to do with Adam Schiff. He was the ranking member on the Intelligence Committee in the House back in 2017 when the Russia collusion hoax was being perpetrated. Apparently, at the time, he was authorizing and encouraging classified leaks from the Democrat side of that committee. These would be illegal leaks. In fact, they might even fall under the Espionage Act. And the key witness here is a whistleblower who worked for the Democrats, a senior, longtime veteran of the intelligence community who is a Democrat and was hired by the Democrats on the committee to sort of advise them on national security issues. And this whistleblower apparently told the FBI, yeah, Adam Schiff is authorizing all of these leaks. Now, there's two parts of this scandal. The first is that Adam Schiff apparently did this. The second is that the FBI knew about it and did nothing. Yeah. We know about this now because there are declassified, what the FBI calls a 302 document, which is basically the report that an FBI agent fills out after interviewing somebody like this whistleblower. And that's now been declassified. It's been handed over to Congress, hopefully to the Justice Department as well. They were handed over by FBI Director Kash Patel. Here's a question for you. I'm going to play quiz again. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This took place in 2017, House Intelligence Committee. This was a Democrat who was working on the Democrat side, intelligence official, who is the whistleblower, who was the chief special counsel for the Intelligence Committee working for Devin Nunes back in 2017.
That would be Kash Patel.
That would be Kash Patel.
That would be Kash
who
Patel.
Now, 8 years later, is the director of the FBI. Do you
by
think
the way,
maybe
I
Kash
really like
Patel?
it. I really like it when I get an A on your test, but please don't do that again in this show.
I knew you knew the answer to that one. The best kind of test. Do you think maybe Kash Patel had some inkling that this was going on back when he was working for the committee, but of course he had no power to do anything about it?
And again, every time I see these stories, I think it is so important that people remember how Patel was treated, how Nunes was treated.
Yes.
They were ridiculed, made fun of. I mean, and the Never Trumpers going after them. It was sickening. Will there be an apology to them? No. Sorry, I just have to have that moment because it makes me so mad thinking about how these men were treated.
The New York Post has some more details on here. Adam Schiff, now a senator, by the way, because you always fail upward when you're a lying, cheating, corrupt scum.
And a Democrat.
He was then the top Democrat on the House Intel Committee, authorized the leaks of classified information to tarnish President Trump's image during the Russiagate probe, having assumed he would lead the CIA in a Hillary Clinton administration.
Oh, my God.
So part of the reason why he was so bitter and angry at Trump and why he was just fine lying to the media over and over and over again. Oh, we have absolute evidence that he colluded with the Russians. I just can't tell you because it's all super secret stuff.
Secret Santa information.
Right, but I can tell you he's guilty. And then leaking information. By the way, the leaks were all damaging, but also not, real. They were either partial information or fake intelligence or what have you, stuff like Steele dossier, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, all of this, all of his anger at Trump stems from the fact that because Hillary Clinton lost, he never got a chance to be the director of the CIA. Can you imagine him being director of the CIA?
But it really is weird how it all comes down to some personal thing.
Yeah.
Talk about a narcissist. Let me put the country through this.
Meanwhile, Jim Jordan, who is the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, he's going after the second branch of this that I mentioned, that the FBI did nothing about it. He said the real takeaway here is that a whistleblower says Adam Schiff told him to leak information, and we didn't get the information from Christopher Wray. We got it from Kash Patel, who was actually trying to get the truth out to the American people, but for some reason, this was never given to us by Director Wray. Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, knew that this had happened, knew that they had the report, did nothing, and didn't inform Congress about it. By the way, that's kind of, forget whether you're going to, recommend to the Justice Department that somebody be criminally prosecuted, especially a sitting congressman, now a senator. That's one thing. But you don't let the Congress know that you've got a leak problem and that classified information is being illegally leaked from staffers and congressmen when you know that could be happening based on this whistleblower. That's just dereliction of duty.
Absolutely.
I mean, how many things have to add up here for us to recognize that Christopher Wray needs to have a thorough investigation, if not an indictment?
Well, and again, we need to stop this from happening again. If there are no consequences for what Christopher Wray did, what is to stop another FBI? What if this happened on the right? What if, again, they just...
We know
they would.
We know what would happen.
Out. We know there would be
People go to
severe
jail.
consequences.
We know what would happen. Yes. Ask Roger Stone about his early morning raid. Ask Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. We know what would happen if it happened on the right. When it didn't even happen on the right. It's 5:54.